Good morning, everyone. Today is Monday, November the 13th. We've got a busy earnings week for sure. No more heavy hitters, but some really important retail ones that might give us a little bit of information. Right now, as we sit in SPY, I redrew the numbers like I always do at the first of the week, right? We want to make sure that our eyes clearly see what's going on. And so let's first of all take a look at the daily chart. What we have here is an a pattern that is expanding, right? It's an expanding pattern, and so this gives us a fair bit of difficulty in terms of trying to predict where the formation is going to end. So we really don't want to do that, right? We don't want to think about that. Sorry, fingers in the wrong spot. Okay, so the first thing we want to see is dips are still buy zones. The top of the ribbon seems to be a super important place. So I want you to put two alerts down. 436, right? When it gets into 436, it's going to start shopping around between 435 and 436, but that's very likely to be a buy zone. If it happens at about the 230 time frame, buying the at the money 435s on the 0 DTE, probably going to give us some really good room. If it loses the level, and again, you're going to want to watch this maybe 434.50. If it loses that level, no matter what's going on with your formation, you just cut it off, right? These are going to be excellent trades with the 0 DTEs if it happens towards the 3 o'clock, 3:15 time frame where it's put up or shut up. The price of the option will be very, very cheap, and you can buy a strangle, right? You can maybe buy a 35 call and maybe a 34 put, and then watch it expand and use a 50% price space there in terms of risk, right? And so these are ways that we really want to try to chip into the market to see how it works. So I've got alerts set for the regions around 435 to 436 marked on my platform, on my trade platform, and we'll talk about that. Your question might be, well, hey, we got a dip here that's shallow. We just had a little bit of a downgrade on Friday from Moody's about X, Y, or Z. I don't know what. But here's the thing. Traders are buying the dip. And look at the dip they're buying. This region here, 438.68, that's the wick from that last pattern over to the left here, right? And so that is ultimately, if we break the pre-market low and we're long, we need to step aside and let it recover that low before we go long, all right? So those are the numbers to watch today. We want to make sure we hold the pre-market low. That's going to give us an opportunity to say, hey, if it rises above that, I'm going to buy it. And then we want to see it break above that 441 area, at which point it'll probably run into 443. These are very bullish patterns that we're seeing right now. There's a lot of bullish play here. Here's the problem. It's bullish into resistance until it breaks this flag pattern, and then it still needs to come back in to test that zone to make sure that it's got more upward drift. All right, let's take a look at the Qs, and I'll go to the futures. For those of us that just trade the futures, you know that you can fast forward to the edge of this. Here are the spaces that we're looking for. The fade here that's coming back into 376.42, I don't really see it in the past here. I see 375 and some change on a weekly edge pattern right here. So maybe that's the actual fade event that it comes into. But again, as long as we hold the low, which is that 376, we're going to have ourselves buying pressure. Now, my suspicion is that we are at the top of the range. When a channel breaks like this, and we've got a huge run right out of the gates, it will go into these resistance areas and then collapse to make a higher low if it's a real breakout. So there are some deeper dips here that are going to make great buying opportunities if it fades into that ledge, but I want you to be very cautious taking a long in this area and expecting it to run wide open above that 380 pattern, right? we want to see it 380.65, right? But there's a lot of money to be made there, particularly in the 0 DTEs, if you are holding the dip and it does not rotate. This is a breakaway formation, not so much of a broadening space, but this is a very large candlestick from Friday. Just saw a super interesting stat that said Mondays and Fridays were very bullish in 2023. So we're going to look again for dip buying. Why are we looking for dip buying? Because all the ribbons are green. I use this ribbon. It's a 620 ribbon. Here it is, MA Cloud Transpider. Again, is out a great tail. Pull back into this dip area. It's going to make for a buy zone, right? So set those alerts. 373, 372. I mean, sweet spot for watching the buy, try to hold. So let it fall through. As it lifts, you pick up the buy. The flip side of that is as we walk the outside or the outside of the ribbon and near the top of the Keltner, it has a tendency to move back into either reversion events or areas that leave for expansion all the way to the other side if we're in a sideways pattern, which is what I've been estimating that we have been sitting in for quite some time. So the big thing is watch the tops. I expect them to have sellers show up at the top there, and these are really going to be sweet spots for us to try potentially from a swing to get ourselves in short positioning. So I've got my eyes set on there, and again, setting alerts at that 383 to 384 that give us that reversion style pattern. See, if we get to 383 today, we'll be well outside of this Keltner channel, and so I do not expect to see that. I expect to see a fade and then another bounce that moves still inside the channel, but on the edges, and then we rotate back down. All right, so dip buying, here's the thing. Could you get to 380 and see no buyers push forward there? Absolutely. That's the space where you go, I'm not going long about there. As a matter of fact, I think I'll try short. If it breaks to the north, you get out. How much does it need to break to the north? Not, but it needs to break by $1 at the most, and then you're going to see, hey, that's not where my short is supposed to be. I think it's probably closer to 50, 60 cents there, but I've got those alerts set for us. Let's take a look at the ES. ES, this is the weekly formation. It's closing inside, a little bit of doji action going on here, but take a look. We're above the close, right? Just above the close. What is the close? The close, 44.24.50. We're right at it, okay? Fades to 44.11. Going to be that buy zone event. At the first clip, step back, let it come there, and then hold and recover it. That gives you that edge. If you believe that we are in a wedge that is about to break down, we should not get above 44.37. If it gets above 44.37 and you're trying to short, hang on to your knickers, okay? It's going to be rough. So I would say let the chart, if you're looking for a long, look for the fade in the pre-market. If it holds 44.11, maybe it pulls back to 44.15. And you go, all right, I can handle a 4-point stop. I'm going to take that. And then watch on your tight time frames that it makes a higher high. I do like looking at this 44.08 level to see that it gives us a sufficient floor, and then we can move up. Otherwise, we're going to come right back down into this noise. And notice 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days touching the range between 43.89 and 43.76. That tells me that there is a lot of battling right there at that level. That's one of my sweet spots also that I've got looking at that says, hey, if we come in there, it's going to bounce. All right? Pullbacks or buy zones, folks. Not a place to fade until the chart tells you that there is no desire to chase supply, right? There's no desire to find anything up here. If that happens, we're not going to get above Friday's high. Now, if we use that stat that says, hey, listen, I can see I've got a pullback equals buy zones. Mondays are normally bullish. Let me look for the fade and get long rather than saying, hey, I'm just going to wait for the top and try to go short because the trend is upwards, right? I like 15,500 for that first move to the upside. If it loses it, I'm going to watch for 15,390 all the way to maybe 15,414. Those are the edges that I'm just going to sort of hawk and say, all right, are we holding there? I'm going to try the bounce. If I bounce and make a lower high, I am getting out because easily 1, 2, 3, 4 days of motion between 15,285 and 15,414. All right, we've had just a ton of pressure showing up in those zones. Okay, so we've got the levels clearly, mark them down because they're going to matter either today, tomorrow, or the next day. Please remember that I will be on a transatlantic flight on Wednesday. I don't know if I'll be a zombie on Thursday or if I'll be back to, because I've been over there so much, if it'll just take me a day or so to acclimate, but that's what's going on. I'll keep you posted. We'll look at these levels. They are going to be critical mass zones for the week in my mind. All right? Take care, everyone, and I'll see you on the platforms.